Here is the second week of Percussive Storytelling live from our living room. It's a good place.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Thank you, Oren. And I work in a drum factory. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a seriously awesome dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." She said, "So hit the cymbal with your left foot." Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." She said, "So hit the tambourine with your right foot." Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." She said, "So hit the drum with your left hand." Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." She said, "So hit the blocks with your right hand." Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. Have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." She said, "So hit the crasher with your right hand." Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." She said, "So hit the bells with your right hand." Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." Then hit the shakers with your left hand. Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. I have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." Then please go a little faster. Hi, my name is Corey, and I work in a drum factory. Have a wife, 2 kids, and a dog. One day my boss said to me, she said, "Corey." I said, "Yeah." "Are you busy?" I said, "Nah." Then please go a little faster. Hi, I'm Corey. Yes, I am busy. Boom. Very, very busy. So there you go. That is Drum Factory, and it is a true story. My name is... Oh, thanks, Nora. It's like playing Legos and paying attention at the same time. And as I've said before, it is a true story. My name is Corey. I have a wife in the other room working. I have 2 kids working right here for me. My tech crew, my AV crew, getting paid minimum wage and grapes and goldfish. And our dog, Penny, who is probably going to make an appearance. I think her head might have popped up at some point anyway. So that story is always that fun introduction to what it is I'm doing for you. And if you were here last week, you heard that. And if this is your first time, welcome. This program is something I created called Percussive Storytelling. And what that means, for those of new joining us, it means that everything I play today is a percussion instrument because of this magical stick that goes up and it goes down. Thanks, Oren. And then you get a sound. Anything you hit with something else to make a sound is a percussion instrument. So the blocks, percussion instrument, the drum, percussion instrument, the cymbal, percussion instrument, my chicken, a percussion instrument, and my head, as you've heard before, woo, definitely a percussion instrument. But as you heard in the first story, I don't just play the instruments. I tell stories while I play them, and that's what makes what I do something called percussive storytelling. So there are 4 stories for you today. One, the Drum Factory one I just played, is the only one that's repeated from last week, so everything else is new this week. And as I mentioned below in the YouTube description, please send me questions, and I'll be asking you guys some questions. And you can just text me or email me, and I will get them on my magical device. But before I move on, I wanted to tell you quickly about a couple of the instruments. For those of you just joining us, we have our blocks of wood called wood blocks. We have our bells of cows called cowbells. Yeah, these are made out of recycled cows. Metal? Oh. Metal. We have shaker, and we have drum. Over here we have a hi-hat cymbal. You push down the pedal. The cymbals go together. We had a crasher, all kinds of things. I have many instruments to show you today. I just wanted to start with that to kind of get you thinking about the percussion instruments and how I tell stories while playing them. So Zoe's going to slightly move this over. Great. Nice. For this next story. But before I go on to this story, I need to make the announcement from last week's challenge, the Tiki Tiki Tembo challenge. I received, believe it or not, many videos of this. This is so cool. And our winners, we had 2 families sort of tie. One family led by the esteemed Jonah. I'm not putting last names in here because it's YouTube Live. Jonah and Bryn, and mainly Jonah, who sent in, I think, like 36 videos of him doing it. No, there was a great one of he and Bryn doing like some old hip hop version. And then we had Isabel and Zach from Maryland, who did a 6.5-minute version of Tiki Tiki Tembo with instruments at 7 a.m. in the morning. Their parents were very happy with me. Very happy. So we're going to get another challenge at the end of today. But now I want to go on to the next story. And this next story is a very important one because it's the first one I ever did. First story ever. This started all of percussive storytelling. And it's called The Lost Bicycle. And I wanted to play that for you today because the story I play after this, called Peacock and Quetzal, I just wrote a few weeks ago. So we have the first story I ever wrote, and then coming up next, the last story I ever wrote, or the newest. And The Lost Bicycle is very cool because of its use of leitmotifs. And we talked about this briefly last time in the turnip, but a leitmotif is a sound that stands for something in the story. In The Lost Bicycle, the block is the boy. So just about every time I say the boy, I hit the block. And this is important because as the story progresses and gets faster and faster, these sounds become really ingrained in the story. And you can't have the name of the character without the sound. And so this was how I started percussive storytelling many years ago. And I wanted to play this one for you today. So here is The Lost Bicycle. Long, long ago, Mother Earth's only son was celebrating his 6th birthday. And Mother Earth wanted to give him the greatest gift in the entire land. After talking to Father Ocean, Brother Sky, and Sister Moon, Mother Earth created the first bicycle. The boy was overjoyed. This is the best gift ever. I will always keep it with me. And for the first month, he did just that. The boy rode the bicycle everywhere, in the green forest, down the steep mountain, and through the rushing river. One day, a giant thunderstorm came down from the sky. The boy was forced to seek shelter, so he left his bike out in the rain next to the big, great tree. After the storm had gone, the boy raced back to the great tree, only to find that his bicycle had disappeared. The boy cried and cried until Mother Earth appeared. "My poor boy," she said, "wipe those tears away. Remember, nothing is lost until you stop looking." Mother Earth is right, the boy thought, so he searched all around the great tree until he found bicycle tracks that led off into the green forest. Delighted, the boy followed the tracks in search of his lost bicycle. At the end of the forest, the boy came upon Guide, the cheetah, sleeping in the shady grass. "Excuse me, Guide," said the boy. "Have you seen my bicycle?" "Why, yes, I have," replied Guide. "I just rode it in the green forest." "But you see, I'm a rather fast cheetah. And I rode the bicycle so fast that my legs grew tired." I had to stop to take a nap, so I let my good friend Bonat, the tortoise, ride the bicycle down the steep mountain. "Thank you, Guide," the boy replied as he hurried off in search of Bonat. The boy found Bonat at the bottom of the mountain, relaxing in the sun and eating some bright green grass. "Excuse me, Bonat," asked the boy. "Have you seen my bicycle? I left it out during the giant storm, and now it's missing." "Why, yes, I have," said Bonat. "I just rode it down the steep mountain. But you see, I'm a rather slow tortoise. And I rode the bicycle so slow, I grew hungry. I had to stop for a snack, so I let my good friend Asimai, the hippo, ride the bicycle through the rushing river. Thank you, Bonat. The boy quickly replies he hurried off in search of Asimai. night at work, he found a semi enjoying an ice cold drink of water. Excuse me, semi? Gasped the boy. Have you seen my bicycle? Why, yes, I have, said a semi. I just rode it through the rushing river. But you see, I'm a rather large hippo. And I had such a hard time balancing on the bicycle that I worked up a huge sweat. I had to stop to cool off in the river, and when I came up for air, the bicycle was gone. The boy began to cry for his lost bicycle. Thank you, Asimai. By this time, the sun was beginning to set, and the boy decided to go home and continue his search the following day. I'll never find my bicycle, the boy muttered to himself. I went everywhere, in the green forest, down the steep mountain, and through the rushing river. It's nowhere, and I'll never find it. But when the boy arrived home, he found Hadye, the dog, barking and jumping up and down. Hello, Hadye, cried the boy. What are you so excited about today? But Hadye could not say. He was too excited. He just continued to bark and jump up and down until the boy followed him to the other side of the house. When the boy looked up, he saw his bicycle. Hadye, exclaimed the boy. You found my bicycle and brought it back to me. Of all the animals in the land, you are my best friend. And to this day, the dog remains man's best friend. The end. That is the Lost Bicycle, the very first story I ever wrote. Please, while I'm talking and telling bad jokes, please send me questions about the instruments, about the stories, about why it's darker in here than usual, because I live in Southern California, and we have this thing today outside called rain. I believe it's spelled W-R-A-I-N, and this is a umbrella, something we're just not used to. So please send me some questions, and while you're sending me some questions, I am going to tell you about some of the instruments and leitmotifs in the Lost Bicycle. So we had the boy, right? The boy was the woodblock, just like that. And we had the other main characters. So who is this? The fast cheetah. What about this? The slow tortoise. And then we had the big hippo. And don't forget the hero at the end of the story, the dog, Hadye. We also had Mother Earth. We had the places. So we had the green forest. We had the steep mountain and the rushing river that is now dry. It's a drought. We had other sound effects. So the storm, told with my good friend, the Thunder Tune. I really do love this thing. What else do we have? Sister Moon, Father Ocean. There's probably more. Oh, yes, of course. Duh. The story's called The Lost Bicycle. And that's how the whole thing got started, right there. I was playing some blocks just like this one day, many years ago, and I thought that it sounded kind of circular, like a bicycle. And so that's what led me to write a story called The Lost Bicycle. Pretty cool. Just like that. And this story was written in 2005. Although I didn't start percussive storytelling as an official program until 2009, 2010. But this was the first story I ever wrote, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's always fun visiting an old story. So let's see if we have any questions here. Oh, how did I come up with, that's a very good question. The names of the animals in this story. Okay, so when I wrote this story, I lived in Italy. I was doing a fellowship there, an arts fellowship, and my roommate was a traditional griot and drum player from Senegal. It's a country in West Africa. And a griot is a traditional African storyteller. And his name was Papis, and he helped translate the names cheetah to Gaide. It's in his African language, traditional dialect. Bonat, the tortoise, and Asaimai, the hippo, and Hadye, the dog. Now, I did a transliteration, so that's not exactly how they're said. I just kind of phonetically wrote things out. But that's how I came up with the names as compared to just saying cheetah, dog, tortoise, hippo. Very, very good question. Nice. What other questions do we have? Or shall I tell another joke? Here we go. How do you make an octopus laugh? Give him 10 tickles. 10 tickles? 10. Yeah. There it is. Oh, that's a good one. How about a riddle? What stays in the corner but travels all over the world? Think about that one. A spider, Orin says. Oh. A stamp. It goes on a letter. Oh, yeah. Okay, before I go on to the next story, I want to tell you about these instruments for the Lost Bicycle. And please keep the questions coming. We had our traditional wood blocks. Woo! I use a lot of wood blocks. Cowbell. Insert your funny cowbell joke here, please. Yes, I use a lot of cowbells. This is a mason jar. This is a bowl. I took it from the kitchen. I don't know. We have hanging bells. We have bamboo wind chimes. Finger cymbals. Ah, they're so nice. We have other blocks, the thunder tube, the cymbal. These here are Peking opera cymbals. I did not play them the traditional way. You're actually, well, there's a lot of tape on there. You're supposed to scrape them like this. I put them flat and hit them like that. Other bells, and then of course, you guys might remember from last week, my favorite instrument in the world, the quiet opera gong. Just kidding, it's very loud. Here you go. So satisfying. I love that instrument. Okay, that is the Lost Bicycle. I am moving over to the story. Before I do that, I'm going to for the Lost Bicycle. Please send me your pictures of the Lost Bicycle. Make something. 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, draw it, sculpt it, make it out of recycled materials. I don't care. You can see my email and text on there. Or phone number. You can also see my Facebook and Instagram feed on the YouTube profile. And so send me all those pictures, and I will again pick a winner. And you can choose from my 2 albums or 2 children's books for your prize, just like that. And while I move over to the next story, I need to do some shout outs because that's super important. So can you move the thingy-ma-bobber? You know, the thingy-ma-bobbery-boo. Excellent. Great. Shout outs to, let's see here. Who should we give shout outs to? I think we should say hello to. Oh, yeah. We have Max. Max is here. Hi, Max. Hey, Nick. And then we have Weber and Greta, and Edley, I guess, is watching. You know. Edley, are you awake? I hope so. And let's see, who else is here? Matilda. Love that name. Matilda, are you in East Coast? Pennsylvania? Philadelphia. Kira and Dylan are here. And apparently Edley is awake, but she should be napping. So we should all channel our inner naps and say, Edley, go to sleep. Jonah, Bryn, Isabel, Zach, anyone else here? There are probably people. I don't know. So here's the next story, guys. And this story is brand new. In fact, I've never played it for anyone except one person, awesome person named Delaney Armstrong. She's just an incredible musician. She heard this story because she recorded it when I was in Colorado this last month. So for a whole month in February, I was in Colorado for a residency through the National Endowment of the Arts and Adams State University. Go Bears, in case you're watching. Yes. And while I was there, I wrote a new story called Peacock and Quetzal. And the way that works when I write a new story is I need your help. I play these stories over 100 times. That's my rule. 100 times at home before I play it in public. I don't necessarily consider this public because, well, I'm in my living room. But I really need your help to make these stories better. So after I play Peacock and Quetzal, I would love if you guys, adults too, send me some ideas, feedback on the story because you help make these better. Also, I want to show you something. I have the story right here. You might be thinking, wait, I thought you were a professional. Shouldn't you be like 100% correct all the time? And the answer is no. I make mistakes. I make plenty of mistakes. And I think it's important for you guys to see me kind of not struggle, but see that sometimes when I do a new story or in introducing these things and I'm up in front of people talking, that it's important that you see that sometimes I have notes and sometimes I make mistakes. Because I know that, like, say you're in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade and you have to do a presentation in class and you get a little nervous standing up in front of everybody. Guess what? So do I. And I've done this over 600 times, all right? It's perfectly natural. So I have the story right here. This story is about 2 birds. Well, actually, it's about a lot of birds. It's inspired by a South American folk tale, and I really like the kind of premise of the story about friendship because I'm developing a program right now for next school year that's an anti-bullying program. It's a program that deals with what it's like to grow up in the age of social media and the pressures with that and how to be self-confident and self-aware. And this story is going to fit into that. So enough jibber-jabbering from me, because my kids are looking at me saying, Dad, stop talking and play the story. So I'm going to stop talking and play the story. Here is Peacock and Quetzal. In ancient times, the Great Spirit ruled over the animal kingdom. At this time, animals appeared in different shapes and colors than they do today. While most animals learned to work together, the birds constantly fought and argued. One day, the Great Spirit summoned all birds and announced they must choose a king to keep peace. Well, naturally, each bird thought it should be king. The cardinal was the first to step up and sing, "Look at me dance with my crimson red wings. It is quite clear that I should be king." And the cardinal strutted in front of the birds, fluttering her wings and raising her crest. Next, the mockingbird stepped up and sang, "See how enchanting I am when I sing. My beautiful voice means that I should be king." And the mockingbird chirped and shrilled, delighting the birds with his hypnotic melodies. The wild turkey followed and sang, "I am the strongest, and my beak packs a sting. Choose a protector to be your true king." And the wild turkey flexed her large muscles, delighting the birds with her show of strength. Well, throughout the day, bird after bird made a case to be king. The Quetzal said nothing. Now, Quetzal was a smart and proud bird, but his feathers were brown and shabby. Quetzal knew he couldn't be king, so he thought carefully and went to see the quiet Peacock. Peacock was known to have the brightest and most beautiful rainbow feathers. "Peacock," said Quetzal, "your feathers are so beautiful, but you're too quiet to be king. If you lend me your feathers, I can become king and share great wealth and fortune with you." Peacock was unsure, but she eventually agreed with Quetzal. Within moments, Quetzal had taken Peacock's feathers and attached them to his own. When Quetzal appeared to make his case to be king, the bird gasped, for Quetzal glowed in the sun, and his body was as bright as a rainbow. Then he sang, "I am as radiant as a shimmering ring. There is no doubt that I should be king." And Quetzal paraded in front of the birds, showing off his beautiful feathers. Well, the birds all cheered in agreement, and the Great Spirit declared Quetzal to be king of the birds. Well, time went by, and Quetzal was so busy being king that he forgot about his promise to Peacock. One morning, Cardinal, Mockingbird, and Wild Turkey were out taking a walk. When they came across Peacock, hiding in a deep bush, cold and hungry. Peacock told them what Quetzal had done, and the birds were not happy. Cardinal said, "I can't believe Quetzal tricked us." Mockingbird said, "That is no way to be king." Wild Turkey said, "The Great Spirit needs to know." So they summoned all birds, and one after one each bird gave Peacock a single feather, resulting in the most elaborate and beautiful dress in the animal kingdom. When Quetzal finally appeared, he was shocked to see Peacock. "Peacock?" he stammered. "I've been meaning to come find you. I've just been so busy being king." "Silence!" commanded the Great Spirit. "Peacock, speak your mind." Well, quiet Peacock took a deep breath and sang, "Quetzal, the power that you so strongly cling prevents you from being a compassionate king. I am quite happy because in the end, I can always rely on the support of my friends. And Peacock marched around, greeting her new friends, giving hugs, and displaying her beautiful dress. And from that day forward, Quetzal was a kind and compassionate king, and Peacock was always surrounded by friends. There you go. That is Peacock and Quetzal, the world premiere. You are the first people to hear that story live in a performance. And I would absolutely love for you to send comments. Adults, kids, it doesn't matter. That's how these stories get better and better and better. For example, The Lost Bicycle and Drum Factory have been performed hundreds of times. And Peacock and Quetzal? Once. There we go. Got to start somewhere. And the instruments in this are ones that you've seen before. We have the opera gongs, another kind of gong. We have triangles and bells and shakers and bells and bells and shakers. I think I like bells, bells, bells. Yeah, a lot of bells. Then we have this completely random thing. I got this in some antique shop. I really don't know what it was for or why it works the way it does. But all you do is twist it, and that's what it sounds like. I don't know if it was part of something. I'm not even quite sure. All I know is I love it. It's a very cool instrument. We have the tambourines, blocks, castanets, everything but the kitchen sink, which is in the other room, by the way. So let's see what questions we might have. The peacock sound. Whoa, yeah. Here we go. Woohoo! This is great. Okay, I appreciate the kind words. I do. But I also really like questions. Questions are great. I have one other story for you guys, and it's a funny story. I don't know how many of you have heard this, but it is called I Am My Own Grandpa. So a lot of my stories have morals or they have some sort of message to them. Give me a sec here. This story is not one of those stories. This story is silly for the sake of being silly. And that's okay. Sometimes stories just need to be silly. So I'm just slowly setting up, grabbing a couple things. Don't go away. I promise it's worth the wait. And as I'm moving a couple things around, let me re-mention that this week's challenge is to draw some kind of picture of the lost bicycle, the story of the lost bicycle, something in that story that you want to draw a picture of or, document somehow. You can even make it out of clay, get creative with toilet paper rolls and all kinds of weird things. That's what we do. You should see the drum factory right now. The drum factory is actually our garage. Half of it is drums. The other half is absolutely crazy art projects. Crazy. I mean, there is more hot glue out there than, I don't know, the rest of the world. Or so it seems. There's a lot of hot glue in our garage. Let's see here. Okay, so I hope everybody, by the way, had a great weekend and got to see different parts of their house. I know that on Saturday I spent a bit of time watching that wall. And then on Sunday, I looked inside the linen closet just because, and then Sunday night, I decided to just look up at the ceiling because I hadn't looked at it in a while. And yeah, that's what we did during our weekend. So I'm My Own Grandpa is a story about someone who becomes their own grandpa. It's not supposed to make sense. It's nonsensical, but it's also really funny. And what I decided to do in this story, instead of just playing it, simple and letting that happen, I decided to challenge myself vocally, all right, to see how fast I could speak. There was a lot of text here, and the first time, I'm going to play it twice. The first time through, the first verse, or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to do it at regular speed, and the second time I'm going to do at warp speed, or as fast as I can talk and play at the same time. So yeah, you're supposed to laugh at that. And adults, do not try to figure out the family tree. If you try to figure out the family tree, your brain will explode. I guarantee it. So here is I, My Own Grandpa. Thank you guys again for coming out. Enjoy this story. We'll go from there. Now, many years ago when I was 23, I married a sweet widow who's pretty as could be. The widow had a grown-up daughter. I hear her wed. My father fell in love with her soon the two were wed. This, me and my dad, my son-in-law, changed my very life. My daughter was my mother, which was my father's wife. To complicate the matter, you know, it brought me joy. Soon became the father of a bouncing baby boy. My little baby then became their brother-in-law to dad, and so became my uncle. It made me very sad, for if he was my uncle, that also made him the brother. Widow's grown-up daughter, who of course was my stepmother. My father's wife then had a son who kept him on the run, and he became my grandson. He was my other son from now it's his mother's mother, and then she too, because she is my wife, she is my grandmother too. So, if my wife is my grandmother, and she her grandchild, and every time I think of it, it nearly does me well. For now, I have become the straightest bitch you ever saw. Husband of my grandmother, I am my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. It seems silly, I know, but it really is so. I'm my own grandpa. Okay, I had a little bit of a stumble in there. It's a funny one. It's not supposed to make sense. I saw Zoe trying to picture the family tree here. She looked a little confused. I also could hear my dad all the way in Virginia being like, wait a second, that sounds like our family. Ha ha! Just kidding. Remember, I wanted to see how fast I could speak. So here we go. Now, many years ago when I was 23, I married a sweet widow, crazy as could be. The widow had a grown-up daughter. I heard her right before I fell in love with her, soon the two were wed. Then she that my son-in-law changed my very life. My daughter was the mother, who was my father's wife. To complicate the matter, no, I brought my joy, soon became the father of a bouncing baby boy. My little baby then became the brother-in-law to them, so became my uncle and made me perfect proper. It was my uncle that also made him the brother. Widow's grown-up daughter, of course, my stepmother. My father's wife and had time to put them on the run, and he became my grandson, who was my dad's son, and was now my mother's mother, and it makes it really God, she is my wife, she's my grandmother too. So, if my wife is my grandmother, and making her grandchild, and every time I think of it, nearly doesn't well, for now I have become the stranger can't you ever saw. Husband of my grandmother, I am my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. It seems silly, I know, but it really is so. I'm my own grandpa. The end. That one in particular goes out to my dear sister-in-law, Elizabeth Overgard. That one was for you. She requested that one. She loves that one. You guys can also send me a request if you know some more of my stories. If anyone has any questions, now is the time. If not, if you can help me, one thing you can do to help me, do not need to send money. You don't need to Venmo me. You don't need to do anything like that. You can like the video, follow my channel, whatever you need to do via the YouTube stratosphere of social media thing. The best thing you can do is share. Share. People, we need some time like this these days to just have an hour to sit back and watch someone tell really bad dad jokes and play some instruments. So please share. to all your friends, family, you name it. All of that helps a ton. And I want to finish with a joke. I love this joke. Okay. Whoops, I gotta find it. I should have had that one bookmarked. Uh-oh. Where is it? Oh no! Oh boy. It's about boogers. There we go. What is the difference between boogers and broccoli? Kids don't eat broccoli. All right. Hey, seriously, I appreciate you all tuning in for this hour of craziness. Thank you to my kiddos for helping out. And you know what? Next Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific, I'm doing this every Monday. Everybody be well, be safe, have fun. Send me pictures of the lost bicycle. Thank you so much, guys, and have a wonderful week. Bye.